Well, hello. I'm going to be showing you I'm going to be demonstrating some work that I do with dichroic glass, not really making complicated beads or anything, but just right from the beginning for those of you, some of you know about dichroic and some of you don't. Dichroic glass, this is like one of the funky pieces of dichroic glass. It may not be polished, but this was originally a great big disc of glass. And I have known the people who make this glass at CBS since '96 when they first began, when I first visited Jerry, Nona and Howard Sandberg. Jerry had been a scientist in glass, and he formed his company, CBS Glass. And let me tell you how this glass is made. This is what I saw when I visited them the first time. There's a great big chamber. When I say a great big chamber, it's probably, I don't know, 30 feet across, 30, 40 feet across. I'm not good with numbers. It's got a fairly low ceiling, and it's round. And it's lined in something that I remember as being aluminum foil, something like that. The entire room is lined with this foil. And then it has clamps in the ceiling. And what they do is they take the complete circle of glass. It can be clear or it can be black like this. And they clamp it into the ceiling. And then they have on the ground somewhere, as I remember, I mean somebody else might see it differently, there's a little tiny pot of something anchored onto the floor. Then everybody goes out of the chamber, of course. They start to spin the chamber, and the clamps spin as well. And somehow, because of the spinning of the chamber and the spinning of the ceiling items, the dichroic, whatever this is sucked out of that little pot onto the glass. And so then you have these great big beautiful discs of, like, let's see, it's probably 2 millimeter glass, and it comes in clear, and then they have different color schemes. This one happens to be rainbow, and this one is called, I think it's called apple and something. It's actually, I think it's a red and a green in there, but it's all very subtle stuff. Now, if you use this glass naked, in other words, if it's cut into thin stripes, and you put it in the flame to make a dichroic bead, it just vaporizes. It just completely turns into snot or something. It just vaporizes. So the first thing that's done with this glass is, in order for it to go to glass bead makers, it's cut into strips and it's slumped. So that when it's slumped, let me just move and give you a piece here. Here's a piece of, this is a piece of glass that has just been plain slumped. It's got no surface on it apart from the dichroic. But when the dichroic is slumped, it gets a little bit more granular. It kind of clings onto the glass in some special way. And so when people use it to make beads, what they do is when they're holding it in the flame, they have a very soft flame underneath it, and they melt it enough to wind it onto beads. I decided that there had to be another way to use the glass the way I wanted to use it. In those days, I had a long, what I call a bathtub kiln. I had a great big long kiln. And I have photographs which I'm sure I can put to show you at some point. But in the meantime, I cut it into thin strips. I got like 1 millimeter, maybe 2 millimeter, I can't remember, clear glass. I cut the glass so that, let me show you. So I was putting something into the kiln. I was cutting a piece of glass this wide. Then I would lay it in the kiln. With a layer of clear on top, with just 1 millimeter of extra clear on each side. And then I slumped it in the kiln. I think it was 1400 degrees. I'm not good with numbers, but it was slumped. So now, do you see? The entire glass is encased, and in fact it's even It even has a curve to it, actually, a little bit of a curve, because the clear glass has slumped onto the dichroic and sort of gathered up and gathered it in. So now when I put this glass into the flame, the clear glass protects it. So I'm able to use it in different ways to make I use it especially to make shells in my beads, and I also use the clear dichroic as wisps of light in my landscapes and my seascapes. That's it.